Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time at around 8 o'clock Central to share strategies and success stories, tactics, and really we're here to support each of you. So this is almost, I guess, part two of a two-part training. Yesterday, on the 6th of September, we introduced this graphic. Now I realize it's a bit blurry because I'm sharing a YouTube with you versus the original document, but we'll get back to that in a second. So yesterday we introduced this graphic and talked about it from your perspective as a distribution partner to understand what we do and how it benefits the client, but also how you monetize it. So that's good. And if you didn't see yesterday's training, I encourage you to go back and look at it. We should have shared with you our YouTube channel so you can go listen to all the past trainings. So today on part two, we're going to listen to an 8-minute, we're going to listen and view an 8-minute video of how we describe this to the client. So we're gonna not address it from your perspective as far as what's in it for you, but how we present the program to a client, and then we're going to have some dialogue on it. So I'm going to play the 8-minute video and then we'll have dialogue. So I realize it's a bit blurry because I'm sharing my screen of a YouTube, but it'll be good enough for us to follow through. And then this may be some good talking points for you as you're visiting with clients to give you the confidence and competence to get more clients signed up. So let's watch the 8-minute video together and then we'll discuss. Here we go. 2 minutes with you today to describe our guaranteed financing program, which means that we guarantee small businesses a minimum of $100,000 to start to grow to reach their potential. We're going to use this graphic shown here on the screen to describe visually what it is that we do and how it's possible that we can guarantee any small business, assuming that it's a legal business, it's US based, a minimum of $100,000 to start or grow a small business. Now, keep in mind, this can work for pre-launch, pre-formation businesses, startup, and existing. And then additionally, keep in mind that the $100,000 is the floor. That's the minimum amount that we'll guarantee to help you get. So many of our clients want to need more than 100,000. So if it's hundreds of thousands or even 7 figures or 8 figures, we can work with you on that. The process is the same, but the specific guarantee that we make is a minimum of $100,000. So what's shown here is sort of a funnel, and there are 3 inputs into the funnel to come out with the guaranteed capital raise. So I want to spend just a couple minutes briefly to describe to you how this is possible. Because some people would say, well, this sounds too good to be true. How in the world could you guarantee a $100,000 capital raise? I'll show you over the next couple minutes. So the first input is the financial literacy. I used to work for the SBA, used to be a college professor. I'm all about building financial literacy. Here, it's not meant to be some academic exercise, but instead, can we help you understand how lenders and extenders of credit, banks, credit unions, and so forth will view you and your business? And so it's very laser focused. We use an award-winning curriculum developed by the FDIC, promoted by the SBA, and there are 4 modules. 1 on business planning, 1 on building credit, 1 on financial reporting, 1 on banking and money. Frankly, if you want to skip the financial literacy, you can skip it. We have a couple different ways you can access it, one of which is over a 4-day process, very streamlined. You'd have access to it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll assign a revenue cycle manager to work with you. Great. And that is, of course, free. So that can be done in 4 days. Or historically, we've gone through this curriculum over a 4-week period. So in either way, we can help you go through the financial literacy curriculum to be better prepared if you want. Frankly, it's not a requirement. Then we get over to the second input, which is credibility building. As you probably have learned in school or elsewhere, if we want to go get loans, we want to get funding for our business, we need to be cognizant of our 3 C's: our credit, our capacity, and our collateral. Now, the truth is different sources of capital have different underwriting requirements. So there's some sources of funding that don't look at credit at all. Some don't look at capacity, which means cash flow, at all. Some don't look at collateral at all. But we're going to assess those 3 C's of your business to help us identify where the funding should come from. Each individual funding source, again, has its own underwriting criteria. So if we meet the credibility standards of the lender, then we immediately go to funding. And if we don't, then we'll work on it, and that's okay. So from a credit perspective, there's 2 types of credit: business and personal. Business is like Dun & Bradstreet and such, you've probably heard about. So with that, credit is fluid. We can help anyone have credible business and personal credit quickly. So if we're not there when we get started, it's okay. We can help get there. The second of the 3 C's is capacity, as I mentioned, also called cash flow. That's showing the bank or the lender that we have the ability to repay the debt. And this includes documented liquidity. We have a great way to establish, just like we can help build out business credit if needed, we can also help create capacity. So adding liquidity and cash flow is simple. We can help you do it if needed. Now, maybe you're just fine on that C, but if not, that's what we're really good at, is building out the 3 C's to make sure that we get approved. The third of the 3 C's is collateral. Those are those assets that's pledged as security for a loan repayment. That gives the lender confidence that if you don't pay back, they have something to recoup. Again, if you don't have much for collateral, not a problem. We can help you add collateral to your balance sheet in as quick as 24 hours. So the point here is not saying, oh, here are prerequisites. You have to have certain credit scores, because you don't. Or you have to have certain cash flow, because you don't. Or they have to have certain collateral, because you don't. What we're saying is these are the 3 C's that impact underwriting approval. And we need to match your circumstance to the type of funding. And then with that match, if we're good to go, then we immediately go to funding. If not, we do have the ability to help you fix any credit, capacity, or collateral issues. That is really what makes us different. And then, so that was the credibility building. Now we're down to the loan packaging. I know a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to say, loan package, what's that? Or why do I need that? Well, it's crucial. That's the documentation that's all put together that's presented to the lender. It includes things like the business plan and financial projections, the support documents. That's what's needed. That's what's often missing, keeping small businesses from being able to get funding. So in summary, we can guarantee any small business, as long as it's a legal business and it's US based, a minimum of $100,000 to start or grow. We do that by optionally helping with financial literacy, building credibility, I should say, not credit, but credibility, and getting the loan package. So how is this possible again? Well, if we do have the financial literacy, in other words, we know what it is that the lenders are looking for, which we certainly know, we'd like you to know as well. If you have the credibility on paper and the loan package necessary for underwriting approval, if you have that, then you can meet the underwriting guidelines and you get funded. So it's not about, oh, I just really want some money, or worse yet, I just really need some money. It's about, are we credible enough on paper based upon some combination of the 3 C's? Don't have to have all the 3 C's. It depends upon the lender, and having a loan package that assembles everything that tells the story. So the lender knows what the business does, how much capital they need, what they're going to use it for, and that they have the planned projected revenue to be able to pay it back. With that being said, we'd love to assist you in this. You can visit our website. All right, so I'm going to stop the video. So a few things I'd like to take away from it, and then I want to discuss with you questions, comments, observations. And so for an overview video, many would say 8 minutes is too long, but I guess I tend to be a talker, so I needed 8 minutes to tell the story. But by getting 8 minutes with the prospect, I believe that they understand the value proposition that we offer. So let's hit the high points. So you and I can help any small business raise at least $100,000 to start or grow, And when we went through this intro, we explained to them it's applicable to pre-launch, startup, and existing businesses. So that is key to overcoming objections or even resolving questions before they are asked of, well, do you have to have a certain time in business? We clarified, no. And we talked about the financial literacy. The financial literacy is outstanding, but we also explain, hey, if you really don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. So that overcomes an objection, because some people say, I don't care about learning anything, I just want the funding. So I think we did a good job of building value there. We certainly helped reiterate the 3 C's and help the prospective client understand what goes into the underwriting for loan approval, with the recognition that there are different sources of capital that have different underwriting criteria. Hopefully, what we've conveyed to the listener is that while there are 3 C's, they don't have to have any minimum of any of those 3 C's when they come to you and enroll. And secondly, we collectively have the competency to be able to assist them in improving their 3 C's if needed. And then we get over to the loan package. And I think we do a good job of explaining to them, hey, we understand that you probably weren't sitting around thinking about, man, I really wish I had a loan package, right? But that's a necessary ingredient for many sources of capital, is to put the documentation together in the format and structure that the lender wants to be able to get approved. And we educated them on that. We also explained to them that if we have these 3 items, then we're able to get funding, but it's ultimately based on the underwriting guidelines. So what questions do any of you have about the content on this? And we're going to talk about how to use it next in a moment. But does anyone have any questions about the content, this 1-page overview that, well, we'll talk about use in a moment. So any questions on the content? All right, so David's asking a great question. What does this tie to? Well, you could use this to bring people into the SBA Express. You could use this to bring people in to the Capital Ready / guaranteed financing. You could bring this into the access to capital, because we're not talking about client pricing here. We're describing the model. So it has the flexibility to be used with any of those campaigns. Susan is asking about editing this. That's right. So if you're a white label partner, we can get you the editable version of this in your Dropbox. Just contact us, email. I know it's blurry here because, again, I'm sharing my screen of a YouTube, but you can email support@businessparalegals.com or text us 903-920-0777. And then we can get you the editable version of this. We'll get it in your Dropbox. And then you can change it, take our logo off, put your logo on, take our contact information off, put your contact information on. So absolutely. Third question we have from Timothy is, can we produce one of these for you? And yes, I'm sure that we could. So if you wanted us to record, we'll just say an 8-minute overview, just like this, but instead of having our information in the bottom left and bottom right, it has your information. Sure, we can help you with that. So if you wanted us to do it. Now, of course, you could do it as well. And that's even better, because now it's your voice. Because if you're going to be talking to the prospect, ideally, they hear your voice of knowledge and authority by giving them the overview, and then you can close them. But yes, if you want us to create an 8-minute video, we can work something out. Carlos is asking regarding the campaigns. So let's go through the campaigns briefly. So we have the SBA Express. The SBA Express is where we're helping a client specifically get prepared for an SBA 7A Express loan. That program caps at $150,000. So could you use this or some variant of this to be able to pitch, if you will, the SBA Express program? Absolutely. Then we have what we call the guaranteed financing that has the $100,000 guarantee. on your white label license agreement, it's referred to as Capital Ready, but it's one and the same. And so with that, this works perfectly well for that. And then, as Carlos is asking, you can offer the access to capital. The access to capital variant has no upfront cost. The client pays nothing upfront, and instead they pay after their capital raise. And so this can be used for that as well. So to answer several of your questions, I think this can be used or slightly edited as a talking point for any of those three campaigns. All right, so I think I worked through your list of questions. Now, as far as use, well, you know, the first level of application of this is to make sure that you understand what we do and how the model works. And so we've probably accomplished that now. As far as you using it to attract clients, you could set up live Zooms. You could create a recorded Zoom. Some of you have asked us to create a version of this with, as I just mentioned, with your branding on it, and you could have that on demand. And then you could share that video with your prospects. But I think this is a very valuable piece because on a one-pager, it explains to the listener, the viewer, what we're doing and why it works. And it's designed to overcome a number of the objections or questions that you most likely would face. Therefore, if you use this as part of your sales process, quote unquote, then you'll have less talking to do to the client, or you might eliminate it. If they listen to this and pay attention, they probably know enough that they're ready to get started. But let's get back to your question. So Alfred, Bernard, Carlos, Charles, Charlotta, Carlos, Dawood, Don, Erica, Frankie, Jeremy, Jose, Pauline, Terrence, Tony, and others. What is your plan? And you're not going to hurt my feelings, but what is your plan to use this one pager to increase your income? Call a spade a spade. But what are you going to do how can you use this to enroll more clients? All right, so Joe's saying that he's going to take this message back to his unsold prospects, those people that have inquired before but haven't signed up, and use this as another talking point to make sure that they understand the legitimacy of the model, how we can actually guarantee 100,000 and how it works. So that is a good idea. So going back to your unsold prospects and using this as another conversation. Carlos, I see your hand up. Just go ahead and type in the question to Q&A. What are other ideas that any of you have to use this? Because if you're a white label partner, what we know is that you want to generate at least 8 client deals a month. And this is probably, in my mind, the most effective way to tell the story without you having to tell it over and over. And it's accurate, it's credible, it's legitimate, and it probably overcomes that barrier of people thinking $100,000, that doesn't seem realistic. You know, you can't make that guarantee. Well, we can, because we're going to build your literacy, we're going to build your 3 C's, we're going to assemble the loan package. All right, so we're getting feedback. Don says he's going to add it to his website. That's great. So again, you could add the PDF version of this. Well, no, I wouldn't, for any of you that are white label partners, I wouldn't post this video or this graphic because it's going to refer back to us. As a white label partner, this needs to be branded to you. So let us know if you want the editable version. This was developed in PowerPoint. It's just a one-page PowerPoint slide. But if you want an editable version, just either email us at support or text us. We can upload that in your Dropbox. You can make those changes. And then, of course, you can save it as a PDF, and then you can put it on your website if you want. Again, if you're going to use the recording, I wouldn't use my recording, which is on our YouTube channel, but instead you should either record it yourself or have us record it for you. But you don't want to use our recording because it's not branded to you. You need to make sure that your leads are coming back to you as a white label partner. And so we can either just take these items off or you can get an editable version and put your branding on it. Okay, Collis is going to post in different groups. Tony says this helps the client have a clear understanding. Well, I partially agree with you, Tony, but what it's not doing, it's not purposefully, it is not telling the client the cost of the programming. I believe what you want to do is educate first, and I think this is a good way, whether it be the piece itself or a recording of the piece, explains what we do and why it's credible and how it works. Then at that point, and I know some of you want to have a no-touch close where you never talk to the client, so you would just send them your e-signature form, which is fine. But purposefully, we don't put price on here. Now, we're not misleading them. We're not saying, hey, it's free. Nowhere on here did we say, hey, this is free. We're just going to help you get lots and lots of money and we'll work for free. We'll live in a tent under the bridge so you can keep all your money. We never said that, right? So that's a separate conversation once you've educated them. And again, as I explained earlier, it's up to you how you want to direct them, which campaign. Do you want to use this or a variance of this to bring them into the SBA Express? Fine, it'll work well. Do you want to use this to bring them into the guaranteed financing program? I think this is perfectly set up for that already. Excuse me. Do you not want them to pay up front, just like Carlos was asking about? And so you want to bring them into the access to capital where they have no upfront cost? Then this is a good resource for that too. If you're going to take it out for access to capital, then you may want to further iterate there's no upfront cost, because that's another nice selling point. But I know a lot of you have mitigated away from the access to capital more to the guaranteed financing because you like the client to have some skin in the game. But that's your discretion. If you're a white label partner, you can take it out to the marketplace with no upfront cost, or you can ask them to pay the deposit up front. That is your choice. All right, so Carlos says this helps spend time closing versus prospecting. Yeah, I agree. Especially if you change the branding, you don't want to use our branding. Again, I know this is blurry. It's only blurry because we're in Zoom and I'm doing a share of my YouTube full screen. The actual form is not blurry at all. But if you put your branding on there, then that's true, Carlos. Anyone that were to read this, then they would know that you're a go-to resource. What you collectively, and we do, is much different than is available elsewhere. Are there other places that people can become more financially literate? There are. Are there other places that they could go out and pay $5,000 to $10,000 up front to get a loan package? There are. But I don't think that there's anyone else that has the value proposition that we have, you and I collectively, to build the 3 C's. Because what you and I know, this last sentence is probably the most important sentence. Let's read it together. I know it's blurry, forgive me. If you meet the underwriting guidelines, you get funded. And that's the bottom line. We help people move from where they're at to get credible enough, as well as having the knowledge and as well as having the packaging to get approved. But I had a client this morning, he hung up on me. He was so mad. This client, and I don't want to speak disrespectfully, and I won't mention his name, but it was almost like talking to a toddler where he's just banging his fist. I want my money. I want my money. I want my money. Well, dude, you don't qualify. You're not credible enough. We need to get you credible enough so you get approved. I want my money. I want my money. And it's like, it's craziness. So at the end of the day, we have to meet the underwriting guidelines to get approved. Now, there's different guidelines for different sources of capital. That's why we build the loan package out, to figure out how much money the client needs and what they're going to use it for and other information. And then we need to make sure that they're credible enough. Do they have to have good credit? No. Some sources of capital don't use credit. Do they have to have good capacity? I mean, it'd be great to, but no, not necessarily. Some sources of capital don't look at cash flow. Do they have to have collateral? Not necessarily. Some sources of capital don't look at that, but we need the loan package to determine, are they credible enough in the 3 C's? In the case of the client this morning, he's not credible enough, but he's not willing to accept responsibility, and he's not willing to resolve it. And so you'll run into those people sometimes. And that's the toughest thing about our job. You'll have people that come to you and they want and maybe even need money, but they don't qualify. And while you and I can help anyone qualify, that's why we make this $100,000 guarantee. We can help anyone become qualified to get at least 100,000. Could be more, but at least. But we've got to play by the rules, and the rules are we have to meet the underwriting guidelines. All right, so let's see what other feedback we have. Yeah, so anyone that's asking for this, please don't ask for it in the Q&A of Zoom, because I'm not a good enough multitasker. So if you want an editable version of this, all I ask is either email us at support@businessparalegals.com, or text us and we'll get it over to you. And if you're not a white label partner and you need the Dropbox and you need these resources, do the same thing. Email us or text us, and we can get you set up as a white label partner. There's no upfront cost, great training, great resources. All right, Jose is going to record a Loom video and post on the website. That's great. I know a couple of you are bilingual, whether it be Spanish. One of you is fluent in Mandarin Chinese, so you certainly could take this and then edit it, alter it, translate it, I guess is the right verb, into other languages if you chose to. All right, so what other questions does anyone have? And the question could be either anything that we've described here of how the model works, or it could be how to go use this, because we know, as a white label partner, we need to be working together to help at least 2 clients a week, on average 8 clients a month. If we're not on track, and we're now 1 week into September, if you haven't enrolled at least 2 clients in either SBA Express, Access to Capital, or Capital Ready, which we now refer to as Guaranteed Financing Program, if you've not enrolled at least 2, then you're off track. So it's not about punishment. It's like, what do we need to do? Well, what can we do? We must have failed you somehow. If you've not enrolled at least 2 people and generated on paper at least $25,000, because you should be bringing in about $12,500 per client, right? We've talked about the money separately. But if you haven't shown on paper that you've earned $25,000 already this month, in the month of September, we're off track. And I'll take responsibility. It's got to be my fault. So you need to let me know what the problem is, or what you think the problem is, because we need to fix it. Each week you should be earning $25,000 a week. All right, Susan's asking how the calculation is on that. So if you're going out to the marketplace with Access to Capital, Capital Ready, which is also called Guaranteed Financing, you are paid at least 2 ways. You're paid the $2,500, or whatever you decide to set it as, refundable deposit from the client that comes in up front. And then you're getting paid the performance fee as they raise the capital. And the amount of that is up to you. It could be anywhere between 10 and 20%, or higher or lower, whatever you want. Let's say it's 10%. So 10% of $100,000 capital raise is $10,000. Add 2,500, that's 12,500. Do that twice a week, that's 25,000 a week. That's where the money came from. But that's really a gross understatement, isn't it? Because what you'll know is some people will have credibility issues. Some will need help with credit. Now, we help them with their business credit for free, but maybe they're a good candidate for the 60-day credit suite. Bam, you just made another $1,000. Let's say they have capacity or collateral issues, so we need to get them into the collateral support program. Bam, you made another $5,000. So theoretically, or I guess mathematically, you should be generating, we'll just say, between $10,000 and $20,000 for every client that you help, right? That's not going to change your life. I know that's not big money, but it's not a bad side gig. And we should be doing that twice a week, 8 times a month. And so if you've not done that twice this month already, we need to connect. All right, Tony's asking about the process of timing, and that's a good point, and we didn't discuss that, so we'll close on that. So, and Tony's exactly right. Clients will ask, oh, well, this sounds really interesting and different and good. And I like the fact that there's no risk. How long will it take? So that's a question I didn't answer, probably should have, and Tony's bringing up. Well, let's break that down. So let's say a client asks you, well, great, how long will it take? Well, first of all, the financial literacy we're clarifying is optional. We now have that available through our strategic relationship with Blue Revenue, that we can knock out the modules in 4 days. It's a 4-day process. Do they even have to do the financial literacy curriculum? They don't have to. They don't have to, but they could do it if they do want to do it. This takes 4 days. It's a day per topic. So that would be the first element of the answer. How long does it take to build the loan package? You're the white label partner. You already know everything that we're looking for the client to provide, or you should know. If you don't know, we need to visit about that. And so with that, normally assembling the loan package is about a 7-day process. And so that overlaps with this. That's not in addition to it. So we should be able to get done with this side of the funnel in 1 week. We also should be able to assess their 3 C's based upon you gathering their information. So if we can assess the 3 C's, we're getting it done at the same time that this is getting done, at the same time this is getting done. So in other words, we can get these items done in 1 week. That should be a reasonable goal to be ready to apply for funding if we have the loan package from them, the information we need, and if they're credible enough for the type of funding that they're matched for. We need about 1 week to get prepped. Now, what happens? What happens if they're not credible enough? Like the gentleman this morning that was having the toddler uproar. Well, if there's not a match between the amount of funding, the type of funding, their circumstances, and their credibility, then what do we need to do? We need to either change the type of funding, the amount of funding, or improve their credibility. So you might ask, well, how long does that take? Well, for the collateral and capacity, we'll start with collateral. It's about 24 hours. In 24 hours, 1 business day, we won't count weekends, 1 business day, we can get the collateral fixed. So that won't be a significant delay. From a capacity, which also means cash flow, we can improve liquidity concurrent with that 24-hour period of collateral, because we're going to transfer assets over. We're going to put the AR on their balance sheet. AR does count as liquidity. So we can take care of numbers 2 and 3 with the collateral support program in 1 day. So that really wouldn't materially impact the timeline we've talked about over on the right-hand side of the funnel. Now, credit, there is not an instant fix. Now, if you know of an instant fix, you know something I don't, which wouldn't surprise me, but in general, there's not an instant fix. We're talking about a 30 to 60-day process on credit, whether it be business or personal. So I know the client may not want to hear that, or the prospective client, but that's the truth. So it's 30 to 60 days if we need to fix number 1. Now, we may not need to fix number 1. They may be credible enough, or we might be able to find a type of funding that's not dependent upon credit. So you have to, in my opinion, you have to avoid the temptation of trying to filter people over here, because all of this is only relevant in terms of the loan package that we're going after. Because what have we said many times? Different sources of capital have different underwriting criteria. So until we have this package put together, we don't know what's needed over here. Because otherwise people will come to you and just say, well, just shoot me straight. What minimum credit score do I need? Or what's the minimum amount of collateral I need? And the answer up front is, I have no idea, because it depends upon the loan package and what type of funding we're going after. So there's not people love simple. And again, I've said this before, we're not rocket scientists, but what we do is not simple. So until we have the loan package built, we really can't assess, are they credible enough or not? Because these 3 C's are relevant to the type of capital raise that we're doing for the client. Make sense? And I know that may not be what they want to hear, but that's true. And I'll try to draw just a simple analogy. Let's say you and I need a new car. And are we going to go buy a new Porsche 911, or are we going to go buy a new Chevy Bolt? It's the cheapest car I can think of off the top of my head. Well, what would you need to get those two different cars? Much different circumstances, right? Probably your credit worthiness and your cash flow. Those things would vary based upon what you're wanting to finance. And so that's true with business finance too. There's not some simple answer. We need to build the loan package, match them to the right type of capital, and then determine, are we ready to go? Great. If not, then we fix it. And I'll close on this. Our secret sauce, our strategic differentiation, our competitive advantage, yours and mine, is that we can help people build the 3 C's and guarantee a minimum of 100,000. But the guarantee of 100,000 is only possible based upon building the 3 C's, or at least meeting the underwriting guidelines. So only a fool would think that this ball doesn't matter. Oh, okay, I can come in, I can do these 4 modules, I can put together a loan package, and I'll go get $1 million. Well, that's ludicrous, right? Because it doesn't stop there. The lender or the extender of credit, whether it be a term loan, line of credit, whatever, they're going to want to make sure that you, in this case, the borrower, meets the underwriting criteria, right? We've said that in writing. Well, what is the underwriting criteria? Let's just tell us what the underwriting criteria is. It depends, right? How much capital are we looking for, and what are we going to use it for? So it differs. So as soon as you drink that Kool-Aid, as soon as you accept that for being fact, we need to start with the loan package. And from there, then we can assess, do we meet the underwriting criteria or not? If we don't meet the underwriting criteria, we have 2 choices. Change the type of funding / amount of funding we're looking for, or improve credibility. But we need to start with the loan package. Start with the loan package. And people will want to talk to you. They want to talk, right? Chatty. They just want to spit out information. None of that matters. I mean, we care about them and whatever they want to talk about, but that doesn't matter. We've got to get it in writing, because the truth is, you, me, nor the client are probably going to talk to the underwriting committee of the bank or of the lender. It's got to be in writing. It's the written story that is going to allow us to get these larger amounts of capital raised. There's not going to be a conversation where you can just explain yourself. We've got to have a loan package. And the loan package also allows you and I to understand what they're doing, how much, how they're going to use the funds, and then we can go back and reconcile against the 3 C's. But the bottom line is, we're guaranteeing them a minimum of $100,000 capital raise, so they certainly won't waste their time. Let's see, let's close this out. So we answered Tony's question, hopefully. And then Charlotte is asking, yeah, so Scott Stroud is our Chief Marketing Officer. He's usually on the Zoom. He's not on this morning, but he can help you build out unique landing pages with automation. He's our technical guru. So if you want Scott to help you build out landing pages, automation, all that, again, just email support@businessparalegals.com or text us 903-920-0777, and then we'll get you connected with Scott, and you all can work out a budget for developing landing pages and automation and all that. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Enjoyed our discussion. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Most important thing is go use this knowledge, go help small businesses, and go make money. We need to help at least 2 clients a week, 8 a month, to stay on track. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow.